Hi everyone and welcome back to the course. In this video, we will plan our deployment of the DevSecOps and also we'll talk about the industry security frameworks. So let's get started. Now, so far we discussed the reference architecture of the DevSecOps pipelines and the best practices for AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud. If we have the architecture, the next step would be planning and deploying DevSecOps and the pipelines to our enterprise. There are three major steps that most of the companies will need to implement the DevSecOps. The first one is to assess the enterprise security. So enterprises will likely already have adopted security policies and taken measures to protect their systems. They will also need to adhere security standards and frameworks because of the governmental and industry regulations. So security specialists will have to consider the risk assessments and have to analyze the possible threats. Those specialists should understand and manage the security controls. There is by default a starting point which involves these practices of managing security into the DevOps practice. So DevSecOps should never start without including security policies and standards for developing and deploying new code or a pilot project. So the next step would be to embed security to DevOps. Security policies and standards are integrated into the development process. The DevOps workflows are matched against the security guidelines. This includes vulnerability testing and code scanning. So, without processes and tools in place, DevOps can't start developing new code. The risk of increasing the attack surface and causing permanent damage to the enterprise is too big in that case. So companies, both big and small, are under consistent threat of hackers and security threats. And this brings us to the final step. So the DevOps and the DevSecOps are not only about technology, it's a way of working and even thinking. It is basically a culture, and people need to be trained in adopting that culture. So staff, developers, and operators need to be trained consistently to do their tasks. Developers, operators, and security engineers need to fully be committed to applying the security controls in their work, and that implies that they should always be aware of the risk for the enterprise or that the enterprise is facing in terms of security. And of course, proper tooling is quite essential in order to achieve that, at least at a minimum. And so, tools for testing are quite recommended, and testing is actually one of the critical elements of the DevSecOps. The market provides a massive number of tools for performing tests. The next type of tools that we need to have are the alerting tools. So when security threats are detected, alerts need to be raised and sent out. Then we need to have tools for automated remediation, and those are tools such as StackStorm to help providing remediation as soon as the security issues are detected. And finally, it's always good to have visualization tools because developers and operators need to be able to see what's going on in the systems. So you can use plenty of tools in order to achieve all those goals, and they would be mainly third-party tools that can be integrated into the DevOps tooling for either AWS, Azure, or Google Cloud. Of course, public cloud platforms themselves offer extensive security tooling. So the benefits of the DevSecOps should be clear now, but we should know that with the DevSecOps we can achieve better collaboration between developers, operators, and security engineers. And with that, we will ensure that security threats and vulnerabilities are detected at an early stage of development so the risks to the enterprise are minimized. So, because the IT becomes more and more complex over the years, the IT security is of a key importance. The level of security that is required will, of course, differ for every industry, but first of all, financial institutions we want to make sure that bank accounts can be compromised and that money are not being illegally transferred. Or on the other side, healthcare institutions will need to protect their patients' personal and health data. And in order to do that, you need to have some common rules that everybody follows, and an organization is certified if it complies with those rules. So before to learn how the security frameworks impact the CI/CD and the DevOps, we need to understand those frameworks. So basically a framework is a set of policies and documentation guidelines on implementing and managing those best practices for different types of organizations. And actually, I have very good courses on NIST, Cybersecurity and Risk Management Framework, that you can definitely take a look because they cover all the security practices that can be applied to DevOps and DevSecOps. So, some of the most famous practices that you should be aware about are firstly the ISEC 27001, which is an international standard for system security controls that emphasizes on controls that detect threats that will have severe impact on the availability and the integrity of the systems. Then you have the NIST cybersecurity framework that doesn't specify controls, but it does provide 5 functions to enhance security. And those are to identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover from a risk. Those functions will allow organizations to set controls to manage data breach risks. Controls should include access controls, measures to protect data, and also awareness among staff. Then we have the CIS framework, or the Center of Internet Security Framework, which offers extensive frameworks with specific controls for platforms, operating systems, and databases, even containers. Some of the CIS frameworks are embedded into the platforms such as Azure or AWS, and the CIS benchmarks could be assessed easily through Azure Security Center and AWS Security Hub. And finally, there is the COBIT framework, and COBIT states for Information System Audit and Control Association. So COBIT was about identifying and mitigating technical risks in the IT systems, but it also covers the business risks and the release of those risks that are related to IT. So those control frameworks, guys, could have additions that cover specific industry requirements, but typically industries have to incorporate their own standards or be fully compliant with the existing ones. This is important when industries are audited. So that's it. Thank you very much for watching that video, and actually this will be the end of this introductory section for the DevSecOps. I hope it was helpful, guys, and in the next sections we will start with more practical exercises using Docker and Kubernetes. Thanks for watching.